Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take complex, essential knowledge and distill it into the core insights you need to be truly well-informed.
And today's topic, well, it affects absolutely everyone, yet it's often incredibly confusing. We're talking about mental well-being and navigating the sometimes overwhelming world of professional support.
Yeah, if you've ever found yourself, typing therapy near me into a search bar or trying to figure out, okay, what is the difference between a psychologist and a counselor?
Hmm.
And then just felt kind of paralyzed by all the jargon, the acronyms, the sheer number of choices, well, consider this your map.
Definitely. Our source material today is a really comprehensive guide put together by a psychologist with years of practice.
Yeah.
And our goal, our mission really, is to cut through all that noise.
Right.
We want to demystify psychology, clarify who does what in the mental health field, and crucially, give you some practical, evidence-based things you can actually do to boost your own well-being.
And we're starting right off the bat with a fundamental mindset shift. The source material really hammers this home. We have got to challenge that narrow, kind of reactive view of mental health.
You mean the idea that it's only something you pay attention to when something's wrong, when you're already in crisis?
Exactly. That view is just, well, it's not enough.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
We often think of mental health simply as, the absence of an illness. Like, I'm not depressed, so I must be fine.
Yeah.
But our sources are really clear. True mental health, like physical health, isn't just about not being sick. It's about vitality. It's about engagement. It's about the capacity to actually thrive.
It's kind of like the operating system for your life, isn't it? It
Yeah.
governs how you think, feel, react under pressure.
Precisely. It affects your ability to cope, to learn, to work, to maintain relationships, and really importantly, to find genuine enjoyment in life.
That difference between just getting through the week and, actually living it, that feels key.
So to build that foundation for thriving, we first need to understand the science behind it all. And that science is psychology.
Okay.
It's the scientific discipline that studies the mind and behavior, not just theory, but practical tools. Tools to understand ourselves.
Tools to understand why we react certain ways or why certain patterns keep showing up. Like how our thoughts actually shape our feelings.
Exactly, or how past experiences might be influencing us right now. Without understanding some of those basic psychological principles, it's like trying to navigate your inner world without a compass. Psychology gives us the why.
And that leads perfectly into an analogy the source uses, which I found really helpful, the mental garden.
Ah, yes, the garden analogy. It's a good one.
It really reframes things, doesn't it? From something passive to something you actively cultivate.
It does. Because a
Yeah.
garden needs constant attention, right? It doesn't just flourish because you didn't actively harm it. It needs nurturing, sunlight, good soil, water. You have to tend to it.
Our minds are the same.
Exactly. The weeds could be things like negative self-talk or maybe unhealthy coping habits. And if the soil gets depleted, maybe from chronic stress or just neglect, you start feeling burnt out, exhausted, empty.
So tending the garden, that means proactively investing in strategies, seeking help when needed. It's not waiting for a total weed infestation.
Precisely. It's just good maintenance. And thinking about it that way helps normalize the fact that, well, life is stressful sometimes. Everyone struggles.
Everyone has dips in their mental health, sadness, worry, anxiety. That's just part of being human.
Completely normal.
So the big question then is, when do those normal feelings cross the line into something that needs, more attention, professional attention maybe?
The guide gives us a pretty clear framework. Those feelings become a real concern when they tick 3 boxes: intensity, persistence, and interference.
Okay, break those down.
Intensity means the feeling is overwhelming, maybe feels way out of proportion to whatever triggered it. Persistence means it sticks around for weeks or months, no real let-up. And interference, that's the big one. It's messing with your daily life.
Your ability to work, your relationships, sleep, just enjoying things.
Exactly. When your functioning is significantly impacted, that's a clear sign it's time to seek support.
And this is where the source introduces Sarah's story, which really illustrates that you don't have to be at rock bottom.
Right. Sarah, the successful executive.
Mhm.
Outwardly, she looked like she had it all together. High performer, managed a big team.
But inside,
Inside, she felt numb, disconnected, no real joy, just this constant low-level exhaustion. Her downtime wasn't about enjoyment. It was just about recovering enough energy to go back to work.
she was existing, not thriving. That phrase again.
Exactly. And she just chalked it up to normal adult stress. This
Right.
is just what high achievement feels like. She wasn't having breakdowns, so she didn't think it was a problem.
Her story is so important because it shows how serious mental health decline can hide behind just being busy or adulting.
Hmm. Seeking help for her wasn't about preventing a crisis. It was about reclaiming the ability to actually feel alive, to live vibrantly.
And that difference, existing versus flourishing, is mapped out really well by this idea of the mental health continuum. It's not black and white.
No, it's definitely a spectrum. We're always somewhere on this line, moving back and forth.
So what are the key points on that spectrum?
Well, at one end, you've got flourishing. That's when you feel resilient, connected, engaged, purposeful, really firing on all cylinders.
Okay.
Then maybe in the middle, you might be struggling, feeling depleted, maybe isolated, overwhelmed by things. Just get them by.
And the other end?
That's where you might have a diagnosed condition like clinical depression or an anxiety disorder, which needs specific clinical care. The point is to recognize where you generally fall in that continuum so you know what kind of garden tending you might need.
Right. So if we're aiming for flourishing, what are the core things we need to be actively doing, day to day, beyond maybe seeing a professional?
The guide highlights 4 key components for cultivating that well-being. First, self-awareness. Really understand your triggers, your patterns, what makes you tick.
Paying attention inward.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Second, actively building strong relationships. We are wired for connection. Isolation is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Third, learning effective coping strategies. Healthy ways to deal with stress and adversity when it inevitably hits.
And the fourth one, this feels like it connects back to Sarah, practicing self-kindness.
Absolutely critical, treating yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a friend who's struggling. It reframes vulnerability.
How so?
It shows that acknowledging struggle, rather than pretending it's not there, isn't weakness. It's actually the foundation of real, lasting strength and resilience.
That idea of active investment, of tending the garden, is the perfect lead-in to the next big challenge, actually finding the right support when you decide you need it, because that's where the jargon really hits you.
Oh, absolutely. That jargon is a huge barrier. Therapy, psychotherapy, counseling, psychologist, therapist. It all just sounds the same sometimes.
Yeah, it's confusing.
So let's start broad. Mental health support basically means any professional service. Could be one-on-one, could be group work, could be a hotline that's designed to help improve your emotional, psychological, or social well-being.
Okay, so let's tackle the big two first. Counseling versus therapy, or psychotherapy. What's the real difference in practice?
It really boils down to focus, depth, and often duration. Counseling tends to be more short-term.
Okay.
It's focused on specific, immediate problems you're facing right now, like maybe dealing with recent grief, managing work stress, improving communication skills, navigating a life transition like a divorce.
So it's like guided problem solving for a particular issue that's happening now.
That's a great way to put it. Guided problem solving for the present. Now, therapy or psychotherapy, that usually goes deeper.
Deeper how?
It aims to explore the underlying patterns, the why, behind the what. It often looks at past experiences, unresolved emotional conflicts, maybe attachment styles learned in childhood.
So it's less about the immediate fire and more about the faulty wiring that keeps starting fires.
Exactly. The goal is usually more profound personal growth, lasting change in how you function, how you relate to people, how you see yourself. It tackles those more complex, deep-rooted issues. It's often longer-term work.
So counseling for the how to fix it now, therapy for the why does this keep happening?
That's a really useful distinction, yes. Changing the blueprint, not just patching the cracks.
Okay, that clarifies the what. Now let's get into the who, the actual titles. LPC, LMFT, LCSW, PhD, MD. It's alphabet soup out there. Let's start with the ones often associated with counseling.
Right, so you have the counselor, often licensed as an LPC, licensed professional counselor, or LMHC, licensed mental health counselor. They typically have a master's degree.
And they focus on those present-day issues and skills we just talked about.
Generally, yes. Grief counseling, stress management, career counseling, that sort of thing.
Then there's the term therapist. You said that's broader.
Yeah, therapist is more like an umbrella term. Think of it like doctor. Different specialties fall under it. It just means someone licensed to provide mental health care.
So who falls under that umbrella besides counselors?
Well, you've got LMFTs, licensed marriage and family therapists, also master's level, but they specialize in relationships, family dynamics, looking at the system.
Okay.
And then very importantly, you have LCSWs, licensed clinical social workers.
Their training is a bit different, right? More holistic.
Yes, that's a key point. Also master's level. But LCSWs are trained to look at the whole picture of the person and their environment. Social factors, community resources, systemic issues. They often do case management alongside therapy.
Got it. Now, the psychologist. This is where the education level changes significantly.
Correct. A psychologist holds a doctorate, either a PhD or a PsyD. This doctoral training allows them to provide psychotherapy, conduct psychological testing like for ADHD or personality assessments, and diagnose mental health conditions.
And there's a difference within that doctorate between the PhD and the PsyD. That's something maybe not everyone knows.
Right. It's a nuance, but can be relevant. A PhD, Doctor of Philosophy program, is typically a scientist practitioner model. Heavy emphasis on research alongside clinical practice. They're often trained to contribute new knowledge and treat clients.
Okay, science-focused. And the PsyD.
A PsyD, Doctor of Psychology, is usually a practitioner-scholar model. The primary focus is on clinical practice, on delivering therapy services, with less emphasis on conducting original research. Both are licensed psychologists, qualified to provide therapy, but their training emphasis differs slightly.
Interesting. And finally, the psychiatrist, the MD.
Yes, psychiatrists are medical doctors, MD or DO, who specialize in mental health. Their unique role is that they can diagnose, provide therapy, and prescribe medication.
So they handle the biological side, the medication management.
Often, yes. They frequently collaborate with psychologists or therapists, where the psychiatrist manages meds and the other professional handles the talk therapy. It's often a team approach.
So the big takeaway here seems to be, don't get totally hung up on the specific letters, but do make sure the person is licensed for the kind of help you need.
Licensing is paramount, absolutely. It ensures they meet state standards for training and ethical practice.
Okay, so you've navigated the titles. You've booked a session, usually, 45, 50, 60 minutes?
Typically.
And we know it's supposed to be this safe, confidential, collaborative space. But what actually happens in there? Let's talk about the different approaches, the schools of thought behind the therapy itself.
Right, because not all therapy is the same. Different approaches use different models to understand problems and create change.
Let's start with maybe the best-known one, especially in research, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
CBT is very common, very well researched, and effective for a lot of issues. Anxiety, depression, PTSD, for instance. It's usually structured, goal-oriented.
In the core idea.
The core idea is that your thoughts, cognitions, your feelings, emotions, and your behaviors are all interconnected and influence each other.
Like a triangle.
Exactly. So CBT works on the principle that if you can identify and change unhelpful or inaccurate thinking patterns, you can change how you feel and what you do. A big part is identifying cognitive distortions.
Can you give an example of a distortion?
Sure. A common one is catastrophizing, automatically assuming the worst possible outcome, or all or nothing thinking, seeing things in extremes, black or white, success or total failure.
And the therapist helps you challenge those thoughts.
Precisely. They work with you to examine the evidence for and against the thought and help you develop more balanced, realistic ways of thinking. It's very practical, often involves homework between sessions.
It sounds very effective for getting quick relief, but I've heard the critique that sometimes it feels a bit like, well, like putting a Band-Aid on a deeper wound if it doesn't explore the why. Does the source address that?
That's a fair point, and yes, the guide acknowledges that. CBT is powerful for managing symptoms. But for more complex, long-standing issues, sometimes you need approaches that dig deeper into the roots. Often therapists will integrate CBT with other methods.
Okay.
And speaking of related approaches, a really important offshoot of CBT is dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT.
DBT, what's different about that?
DBT was originally developed for people with really intense emotional swings, difficulty managing emotions, maybe histories of trauma or self-harm. It takes CBT principles, but adds elements of mindfulness and acceptance.
Acceptance and change. That sounds dialectical.
Exactly. That's the dialectic. It's about accepting reality as it is and working to change things. It teaches concrete skills in 4 areas.
What are they?
Mindfulness, being present without judgment. Distress tolerance, coping with painful emotions without making things worse. Emotion regulation, understanding and managing your feelings. And interpersonal effectiveness, communicating assertively, maintaining relationships, setting boundaries.
Wow, those sound like life skills everyone could use.
They really are. DBT skills training is incredibly practical.
Okay, moving away from the focus on thoughts and behaviors now, let's talk about psychodynamic therapy. This is the one people maybe associate with Freud, lying on a couch.
Well, it has its roots there, but modern psychodynamic therapy is quite evolved. It's less about the couch and more about exploring the unconscious.
The unconscious, meaning?
Meaning how your early life experiences, especially relationships with caregivers, created patterns and internal conflicts that are still playing out unconsciously in your life today.
So linking current problems, like maybe anxiety in relationships, back to their origins in the past.
Exactly. It's about gaining insight into why you have certain defenses or why you keep repeating certain self-defeating patterns. A key concept here is transference.
Transference.
That's when you unconsciously project feelings or expectations from a past relationship, say, with a parent, onto the therapist.
Ah, okay.
The therapist helps you recognize this as it happens in the therapy room itself, using the therapeutic relationship as a sort of microcosm to understand and work through those old dynamics. It can lead to really deep, lasting change.
Very different from CBT's structured approach, and the last major one the source covers.
Humanistic therapy, particularly person-centered therapy, developed by Carl Rogers. This approach is less about specific techniques and more about the relationship itself.
How so?
The core belief is that everyone has an innate capacity for growth and healing. The therapist's job isn't to direct, but to create a specific kind of supportive environment.
What kind of environment?
One defined by 3 core conditions: empathy, really understanding the client's world; genuineness, being authentic; and unconditional positive regard, accepting the client non-judgmentally.
So the healing comes from feeling truly heard, accepted, and understood.
Exactly. It allows the client to explore their feelings and experiences safely, find their own answers, and move towards self-acceptance and growth.
It's amazing how different these approaches are, and we can see how they might fit different needs when we look back at Mark, the architect you mentioned.
Right. Mark started out with intense work stress, panic attacks before presentations, very specific present-day problem.
So he started with counseling.
Yes, short-term counseling. He learned relaxation techniques, time management skills, practical, immediate help, CBT-based stuff, likely.
But that wasn't the whole story for him.
No. As he got some relief, he started to realize the panic wasn't just about work. It was tied to this deep, lifelong fear of failure, this intense perfectionism he'd carried since childhood.
Ah, so the presenting problem was a symptom of something deeper.
Precisely. And that's when he knew he needed to shift from the how to fix it now counseling to the why does this keep happening psychotherapy.
And he found a psychologist who could blend approaches.
Yes, someone who could use maybe some CBT tools for managing the immediate anxiety symptoms, but also incorporate psychodynamic exploration to understand the roots of that perfectionism, that fear of not being good enough.
Mark's journey really highlights that it's not always one or the other. It can be a process, starting with counseling and maybe moving into deeper therapy as needed.
Absolutely. It should be flexible, collaborative, adapting to what you discover along the way.
Okay, so let's say our listener is ready. They understand the differences. They feel motivated.
Yeah.
How do they actually start the search? How do they tackle that therapy near me search in a way that isn't totally overwhelming?
Right, we need a strategy.
Yeah.
Step 1, before you even look at a directory, is define your needs. Get clear with yourself first.
What kind of clarity?
Are you dealing with something specific and recent, like grief or job loss, where maybe counseling is the first step? Or is it a longer-term pattern, something deeper, like trauma, chronic anxiety, relationship issues that might point towards psychotherapy?
And knowing if you need a specialist, right, like for an eating disorder or OCD.
Exactly. Having a sense of the general area or severity helps you filter effectively from the start.
Okay, needs defined. Step 2, where do you actually look?
Several good places. The big online directories are a common starting point. Psychology Today, Good Therapy, ZocDoc. They let you filter by location, insurance, specialty, even the therapeutic approach like CBT or psychodynamic.
That filtering is key.
It really is. Don't forget referrals either from your primary care doctor or maybe trusted friends, though remember their fit might not be your fit.
What about options if cost is a major barrier, or if someone needs shorter-term help, maybe through work?
Good question. 3 main avenues there. First, check your Employee Assistance Program, EAP, at work. Many companies offer a certain number of free confidential sessions.
Often underutilized.
Very often. Second, look into university clinics associated with psychology doctoral programs. You often get reduced talk therapy from advanced students under close supervision by licensed faculty. Third, community mental health centers typically offer services on a sliding scale based on income. And always check your insurance company's website for their list of in-network providers.
Okay, so you've done your research. You have a short list of names. Step 3 is the initial consultation. The source calls this your interview, right? Not just theirs.
Absolutely. It's usually a brief call, maybe 10, 15 minutes, often free, and you should go in prepared with questions.
What are the essential questions to ask in that call?
You want to get a feel for their approach and experience. Ask things like, what's your main therapeutic approach and why do you use it? What's your experience working with issues like mine? Mention your specific concern.
Practical stuff too, presumably.
Definitely. What are your fees? Do you take my insurance? What's your cancellation policy? And get a sense of the process. What do the first few sessions usually look like? How do you track progress with clients?
Having those questions ready empowers you. But all this logical stuff leads to what the source says is maybe the most important factor: fit and rapport.
Cannot emphasize this enough. Rapport is the quality of the connection you feel with the therapist. Research consistently shows it's one of the strongest predictors of whether therapy will actually be successful.
More important than their degree or the specific technique they use?
Often, yes. You need to feel safe, understood, respected, and comfortable enough to be truly vulnerable. If you feel judged, dismissed, or just disconnected, it's unlikely to work, no matter how qualified they are on paper.
It's a relationship, fundamentally.
It is. Trust is the bedrock. And importantly, it's okay if the first person you talk to isn't the right fit.
People need to hear that. It's not failure.
Not at all. It's like dating. You might need to meet a few people before you find the right connection. A good therapist understands this and won't be offended if you decide to keep looking. Trust your gut feeling.
This brings us back to Mark's search again. He didn't click with the first person he consulted.
Right. His first consultation, the person focused heavily on techniques, scheduling, efficiency. It felt cold, impersonal. Mark felt like a problem to be solved, not a person struggling.
Which is the last thing you need when you're feeling vulnerable.
Exactly. But the second consultation with a psychologist who specialized in his issues was different.
How so?
That therapist started with empathy, asked open-ended questions about Mark's life outside the symptoms, validated how hard it was for him to even make the call. That immediate sense of being seen and understood, that rapport, that's what made Mark feel safe enough to commit to the challenging work ahead.
So the system helps you find qualified people, but your intuition about feeling safe and connected is the final crucial filter.
So we've talked a lot about finding professional help, but the goal is thriving, right? Not just fixing problems. And that means mental health is a daily practice.
Like physical fitness, you don't just go to the doctor, you also exercise and eat well.
Precisely. Professional support is crucial when needed, but these daily strategies, these 6 pillars the source outlines, are about actively tending that mental garden every single day. They're based on solid psychological and neuroscience research.
And these are things anyone can start doing right now. Let's dive into them. Pillar number 1, cultivate self-awareness through mindfulness.
Mindfulness. It's become a buzzword, but the core practice is simple and powerful. It's about paying attention to the present moment, your breath, your body, your thoughts on purpose, without judgment.
Just noticing.
Just noticing, even 5-10 minutes a day. Focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, which it absolutely will, gently bring it back without beating yourself up.
What's the psychological benefit? How does that help?
It builds what psychologists call decentering. You learn to observe your thoughts and feelings without automatically getting swept away by them. You realize you are your thoughts.
Creating a bit of space.
Exactly. A space between a trigger, like a stressful thought, and your reaction. That space allows for conscious choice, for emotional regulation, instead of just reacting automatically. It lowers reactivity.
Okay, makes sense. Pillar 2, prioritize sleep hygiene. We know this is important, but maybe not how important.
It's foundational, non-negotiable, really. Aim for 7-9 hours consistently. Keep a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends if possible. Create a relaxing bedtime routine. Make your bedroom a sanctuary, dark, cool, quiet.
And the big one, limit screens, caffeine, alcohol before bed.
Absolutely critical. From a brain science perspective, sleep is when major housekeeping happens.
Like what?
Your brain consolidates memories, processes emotions from the day, and crucially cleans itself out through the glymphatic system. It's like a waste disposal system that ramps up during deep sleep.
Clearing out toxins.
Clearing out metabolic byproducts like amyloid beta plaques linked to cognitive decline. If you don't get enough quality sleep, that waste builds up. It impacts mood, focus, memory, everything. You feel irritable, anxious. Your brain literally hasn't taken out the trash.
Wow. Okay, pillar 3, nourish your body with balanced nutrition. The gut-brain connection.
Yes, what you eat directly impacts your brain function and mood. The brain uses a ton of energy. Focus on whole foods, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats. Limit processed foods, especially sugary ones. Stay hydrated.
How does sugar affect mood so much?
Sugary foods cause rapid spikes and crashes in blood sugar. That roller coaster effect can mimic or worsen symptoms of anxiety and depression. Steady fuel from balanced meals supports stable mood and optimal neurotransmitter function.
Makes sense. Pillar 4, move your body regularly. Nature's antidepressant, as they say.
It truly is. Aim for about 30 minutes of moderate activity most days. Find something you actually enjoy so you'll stick with it: walking, dancing, cycling, whatever.
What's happening physiologically?
Exercise releases endorphins, which are natural mood lifters. It helps regulate stress hormones like cortisol. It improves sleep quality. It boosts self-esteem. It physically moves that stress energy out of your body.
Powerful stuff. Pillar 5, build and maintain strong social connections. We need people.
Fundamentally, we're social creatures. Isolation is a major risk factor for depression and anxiety. The strategy isn't just having connections, but actively nurturing them.
Making time, reaching out.
Yes. Prioritize quality time. Practice active listening. Join groups with shared interests. Strong social bonds provide support, validation, perspective, and literally buffer the effects of stress. We share the load.
And the final pillar, number 6, practice self-compassion. Being kind to yourself.
This one can be surprisingly hard for people, but it's transformative. It means treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and support you'd offer a good friend when they're struggling or make a mistake.
Instead of that harsh inner critic.
Exactly. Dr. Kristen Neff's research, which the source references, highlight 3 parts: self-kindness, being gentle with yourself; calm and humanity, recognizing that suffering and imperfection are universal, not just your failing; and mindfulness, noticing your pain without exaggerating it.
Just acknowledging this is hard and offering yourself a kind word.
Yes. Even a simple gesture like putting a hand on your heart and saying something kind to yourself can reduce stress hormones and build emotional resilience. It counters shame.
That common humanity piece feels really important, knowing you're not alone in struggling.
It's huge for reducing isolation and self-blame.
So these 6 pillars, we can see them in action with Emily's story, the burnt-out freelancer.
Emily was the poster child for neglecting these pillars. Overworked, running on fumes, poor diet, barely sleeping, constantly criticizing herself. She felt too overwhelmed for therapy, but her lifestyle was digging the hole deeper.
And her counselor started with these practical pillars first.
Wisely, yes. Before diving into the deep-seated perfectionism, the counselor helped her stabilize. Strict sleep schedule first, then adding a short mindful walk hitting movement and mindfulness, teaching her basic self-compassion exercises.
Small, manageable steps.
Small, consistent steps. Those changes started to regulate her system: better sleep, less cortisol, more stable mood. Then she had the energy and clarity to actually engage in the deeper psychotherapy needed to tackle the root causes of the burnout.
It really shows these daily practices aren't just nice-to-haves. They're the essential foundation for any deeper psychological work and for just functioning well day to day.
Okay, we've covered finding help and daily maintenance. But it's also crucial to know when things move beyond the normal struggle into needing more immediate, focused, professional help or even crisis intervention.
Right. Knowing the warning signs, the source mentions common issues like anxiety, depression, burnout, trauma. But what are the general red flags we should look out for in ourselves or others?
It's usually about a significant change from someone's baseline, and it persists. Things like prolonged sadness, irritability, or apathy lasting weeks. Withdrawing from friends, family, activities they used to enjoy.
Changes in basic functions.
Yes. Major shifts in sleep or appetite, sleeping or eating way more or way less. Difficulty concentrating or making decisions. Increased use of substances, alcohol, drugs as a way to cope. Feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness.
And what elevates it from "I'm really struggling" to "I need professional help now"?
The guide points to those key indicators again: interference, intensity persistence, unhealthy coping, and feeling overwhelmed, stuck.
So interference, it's seriously impacting work, relationships, basic self-care.
Right. Intensity persistence, the distress is severe or just not getting better after several weeks, even with self-help efforts.
Unhealthy coping, leaning heavily on substances or other harmful behaviors to get through.
Yes, and just feeling totally stuck, like you can't see a way forward on your own. If those are present, it's time to reach out professionally.
And the absolute most urgent sign.
Any thoughts of harming yourself or ending your life? That requires immediate action. Call Crisis Hotline 911 or your local emergency number. Go to an ER. No hesitation.
Absolutely critical. Okay, so assuming someone has found good support, they're making progress. Therapy doesn't last forever for everyone. How do you sustain that progress after formal sessions might end or become less frequent? The real work happens between sessions, right?
That's the key. Integration. Taking what you learn in therapy and actively applying it outside therapy.
Like practicing the CBT techniques, challenging those thoughts in real time.
Exactly. Or using the DBT distress tolerance skills when you feel overwhelmed. Setting boundaries you discussed. Keeping a journal maybe. Reflecting on how you handled situations. Taking any homework seriously. That's what makes the changes stick.
And leveraging your support network is part of that integration too.
Definitely. Lean on trusted friends or family. Consider support groups for ongoing connection around specific issues. It reduces isolation knowing others get it. Use those community resources too. NAMI, mental health apps like Calm or Headspace for maintenance. Maybe those EAP resources again if needed.
The source also mentions step-down care. What does that involve?
It's about transitioning smoothly. Maybe moving from weekly therapy to bi-weekly, then monthly. The really valuable part, though, is the idea of booster sessions.
Check-ins, basically.
Yeah. Therapy ending doesn't have to be a hard stop. You can plan for occasional check-in sessions, maybe every few months, or, importantly, you can proactively schedule one if you know a stressful period is coming up, or if you feel old patterns starting to creep back in.
It's proactive maintenance, preventing a full relapse.
Exactly. It reframes therapy as a tool you can return to as needed throughout life, not just a one-time fix.
David's story illustrates this perfectly, right? He finished CBT for social anxiety.
Yes, he'd done well, tapered off sessions. Then a year later, boom, unexpected, stressful work merger. Old anxiety symptoms flared up, avoidance, negative self-talk.
But his response was different this time.
That was the measure of his progress. He recognized the early warning signs. He didn't fall into shame or denial. He proactively called his former therapist and scheduled a booster session.
Just one session.
One session was enough to help him dust off his CBT skills, apply them to this new situation, and get back on track. He also reconnected with a support group. It shows that maintenance is key. Recognizing the signs and using the tools you learned that sustained well-being.
It's not about never struggling again. It's about having the awareness and the tools to navigate the struggles when they come.
Precisely. It's a continuous journey, not a final destination. #outro.
Well, we started this deep dive talking about how confusing and overwhelming the world of mental health support can feel. And hopefully, using this great source material, we've managed to create a clearer roadmap for you, our listener.
Yeah, the big shift is seeing mental health not just as fixing problems, but as this proactive journey toward really flourishing, toward living a fuller life.
And now you have the practical distinctions: counseling versus psychotherapy, psychologist versus psychiatrist, LCSW, LMFT. You can decode some of that jargon.
Knowing the difference between the PhD and the PsyD even, and having that systematic way to search, asking the right questions in consultations.
Remembering that fit, that feeling of safety and connection with a professional is so incredibly important, maybe the most important thing.
Absolutely. And beyond the professional help, you've got those 6 pillars for daily practice. Mindfulness, sleep, nutrition, movement, connection, self-compassion, concrete tools you can start using today.
Tools to actively tend your mental garden.
Exactly.
And the core message woven through all of this, the one we really hope lands, is that reaching out for help, investing in your mental well-being, it's not weakness.
It's the opposite.
It's profound courage. It's strength. It's valuing yourself. You are absolutely worth that investment.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a final thought, something to take forward. Based on everything we've explored today, what's one small, tangible step you can commit to taking today, not next week, but right now, to prioritize your own mental well-being?
Maybe it's dedicating just 5 minutes to mindful breathing before you get out of bed tomorrow. Maybe it's researching EAPs at your work. Maybe it's finally making that call, scheduling that first consultation you've been putting off. Whatever it is, take that step. The journey starts now.
And keep exploring. Look into the resources we touched on: NIMH, APA, Dr. Neff's work on self-compassion. Knowledge really is power here.
Take that step. You are worth it. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.